the result of being around that man, Sean Puffy Combs. I don't sleep to this day. I have a problem sleeping to this day. Like, yo, man, I'm here to work, man. I ain't sang in a week. I mean, I'm 13 years old, and I'm telling him, look, you're gonna put me in the studio, man. You got Biggie Smalls in there, you got Craig Mack in there. I'm not here to party with you. I don't want to go to the clubs. Matter of fact, I'm too young to even be in here. Why you got me in clubs? We would fight, we would tussle.
Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was Papa, don't hit me no more. Let's go. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. Hey, hey, hey.
Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. And he said, yo, would you send your son to Diddy camp? And Usher said, no. Ask him why he won't send him to Diddy camp.
Let's get into it because 50 Cent just dropped a bombshell that could seriously damage Diddy's legacy. For years, Diddy has portrayed himself as the ultimate mentor, the man who takes raw talent and transforms it into superstardom. And in Usher's case, that's the story the public was sold. A young, eager teen trying to break into the industry was placed under Diddy's guidance, almost like a rite of passage. But according to 50 Cent, the truth behind the scenes was very different. And once you hear what he's revealing, that wholesome big brother image starts to unravel quickly. Diddy didn't just mentor Usher, he reportedly introduced him to a world no teenagers should have been part of. Lavish parties, questionable. Settings and powerful older men with influence and money were all part of the environment.
Parties are the hottest ticket around.
They won't even give me a permit for the parties, man. They don't want me to throw the parties no more. But we ain't gonna stop. We gonna keep on having fun, bringing people together from all walks of life. You gonna hear about my parties. They're gonna be shutting them down. They're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time. You know, whenever you bring up a different element into people's environment, things that broaden people's horizons, people get intimidated. There's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. It ain't nothing but break it down racial barriers, break it down generation barriers. People from all walks of life. Ron Perlman talking to Jay-Z, Jay-Z talking to, you know what I'm saying? It just goes on and on. You know, it's just like people from all walks of life connecting and getting together.
Don't have to get into your party. How does that make you feel?
It doesn't make me feel any way special. It doesn't make me feel like a bigger person. It just makes me feel like I know how to throw a party.
What started out as career guidance soon became exposure to situations no young person should ever face. And 50 Cent isn't sugarcoating anything. He's been dropping subtle hints for a while now, but this time he's spelling it out. Diddy allegedly handed Usher over to other industry figures, all while hiding behind the facade of mentorship. The troubling part, Usher succeeded. He became the star the industry wanted, but it came with pain and silence. He's never really spoken publicly about what happened back then, but 50 Cent is speaking up, labeling it a setup and intentional, well-constructed system where Diddy wasn't just present, he was in control. Now, as more pieces of the puzzle surface, the scrutiny isn't just on Usher, it's on everyone Diddy ever introduced to the industry. So if you thought this was just another rumor floating around the entertainment world, think again. This is about influence, manipulation, and a young Usher being pulled into something he never anticipated. Let's explore what 50 Cent has just brought to light and why it's sending ripples through the entire industry. Before Diddy ever became associated with Justin Bieber, he already had a major hand in shaping the early career of another rising star, Usher Raymond. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Usher was emerging as one of R&B's brightest young talents. And it was during this period that Diddy entered the picture, presenting himself as a guide and supporter. Usher was still a teenager when he stepped into the music business. Diddy, already an influential figure in hip-hop and R&B, took him under his wing. At first glance, it looked like the perfect opportunity. Diddy had reach, connections, and a proven record of building stars. From the outside, it seemed like a well-connected executive helping a gifted newcomer find his way in the industry, but Diddy offered more than just music mentorship. He also introduced Usher to a lifestyle few teens could ever imagine. That included access to elite entertainment circles, the glitz and chaos of celebrity culture, and high-profile experiences that no classroom could replicate. However, things reportedly didn't end there. Diddy also brought Usher into his personal world in ways that many now see as questionable. And 50 Cent is familiar with all of it. While he never attended Diddy's infamous parties himself, he was aware of what went on behind the scenes and understood the culture surrounding them. Recent clips and resurfaced interviews have reignited the conversation around these events. They suggest that Diddy's involvement in Usher's life went far beyond career guidance. According to these reports, Diddy introduced Usher still a teen to adult environments many would now call inappropriate. Usher once admitted that he lived at Diddy's home during his younger years. That time reportedly included parties older, women, and a kind of unsupervised freedom most teens aren't accustomed to.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to something
City.
called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn some...
Flavor Camp?
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it
Camp.
was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In
to...
the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle,
Right.
And I saw it, and it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild. It was,
So
it was
nobody
crazy.
tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't
and
say that.
Okay.
I didn't
But
say
you
that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there, Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people
all
are
of
hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
Yeah.
I had like,
What
like
a
a living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Back then, the music industry didn't raise many concerns. Everyone was focused on Usher's rising stardom, and Diddy was praised for molding him into a chart-topping sensation. But now, with the benefit of hindsight, more people are beginning to scrutinize the nature of that mentorship. What kind of guidance involves exposing a teenager to adult environments under the pretense of career development? What was truly going on behind closed doors as a young Usher was introduced to exclusive parties and powerful figures? Now, many are beginning to question whether that mentor-student relationship was really appropriate. As more voices speak out and revisit Diddy's TIs with young male artists, Usher's name continues to surface. While Usher has never directly accused Diddy of illegal behavior, there's growing interest in re-examining the details of their past connection and 50 Cent isn't staying quiet about it anymore. Diddy's influence went far beyond the recording studio. He played a major role in shaping Usher's public persona, lifestyle, and the people he interacted with, all during a critical time in his personal development. As current investigations into Diddy's conduct move forward, many are now questioning whether that so-called mentorship, which helped launch Usher's career, also placed him in situations no minor should ever face. Usher was only 13 when he relocated to New York to live with Diddy for nearly a year, a setup arranged by Reid, who believed Diddy could mold him into a star. It was promoted as an educational experience to help him learn the music business firsthand. But Usher has since acknowledged that what he saw and encountered at that age was overwhelming. In several interviews over the years, he has described that period as confusing and strange. He's admitted that he witnessed things he couldn't fully process at the time. It was more than just learning music or stage presence. He was thrust into an adult world that left him feeling out of place. He was too young to understand everything, but mature enough to sense that it wasn't normal for someone his age. Usher once reflected on that time, saying it was supposed to be about developing his artistry, but what he went through was far from that. Though he's never accused Diddy of any explicit misconduct, his comments hint that the environment wasn't designed with a teenager's best interests in mind. When later asked whether he'd allow his own son to go through a similar experience, Usher gave a firm answer: absolutely not. Usher's path to fame has long been hailed as a standout R&B success story. But over time, that image has started to crack, not by Usher's doing, but through accounts from others in the industry who claim there was a different reality behind the scenes. According to several insiders, including vocal artist Jaguar, Diddy's mentorship wasn't as supportive as it seemed. In fact, many now believe it was manipulated from the outset, and 50 Cent is relieved that more people are finally speaking up.
Sucking on Diddy's dick a long time. It's time for him to learn how to make this thing happen without the devil's dick in his mouth or ass.
You don't think if he sued, he'll just Lil Woody the situation? And I don't recall. I don't recall.
No, because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious this shit is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile on your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They not seeing the victim. They not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber.
Jaguar Wright has been among the most outspoken critics, shedding light on what she believes truly happened to Usher during his early years under Diddy's mentorship. In several interviews, she stated that Diddy didn't just guide Usher, he took advantage of him. According to Jaguar, Diddy used his status and authority to place Usher in situations completely unsuitable for a teenager. Even more troubling, she claims Diddy arranged for Usher to be around certain men in the industry, suggesting that these interactions were less about career growth and more about asserting control and influence. She describes a troubling scenario: a young Usher, far from home, navigating a ruthless industry and being told that this was simply the cost of making it big. Jaguar says Diddy led him to believe that gaining access to fame, record deals, and success required compliance with powerful individuals, Diddy included. In her view, Usher was conditioned to accept that these uncomfortable experiences were just part of becoming a star. Jaguar also emphasized that Usher wasn't alone in this, just one of the most visible early examples. Because of his eventual fame, many chose to overlook the red flags. Seeing Usher on award shows, magazine covers, and music charts made it easy to assume everything had gone smoothly. But Jaguar and others suggest a far more painful reality. She described men leaving Diddy's home visibly shaken, even running out, deeply affected by what they had seen or experienced. Amid all that, Usher remained. Why? Because he was convinced that this was what it took to succeed. That enduring. It was part of his training. Refusing wasn't an option, not when the person guiding him held so much power in the business. Her claims have triggered broader conversations. As time passes, more voices are raising questions about what really occurred during those so-called artist development phases. Formerly quiet individuals are beginning to speak up. They point to Usher's own vague admissions, comments about witnessing strange things, and his clear stance that he'd never sent his own child into that environment as subtle signals pointing to a darker reality. And Jaguar isn't the only one speaking out. Other industry insiders have shared similar observations, claiming Usher, still in his early teens, was subjected not just to musical shaping, but to intense psychological pressure in unbalanced environments. Places where he was vulnerable, where power was unequally distributed, and where remaining silent was expected. It's a deeply saddening narrative. Usher was just a talented kid chasing a dream. But instead of being shielded, many now believe he was taken advantage of. Rather than being carefully guided, he was exposed to the harshest corners of the business. And tragically, after surviving that experience, Usher would later bring another young star, Justin Bieber, into the same industry circles. The very same world he once admitted he wouldn't dare expose his own son to.
Famous clip of Puffy that's resurfaced with a very young Justin Bieber saying, "I've got custody of Justin for 48 hours, and what we're going to do, we cannot divulge." I mean, these guys tell you who they are. They may do it with like a wink and a nod, but they're telling you, this is a bad, dangerous guy, and I knew he wasn't going to get bail.
As people reflect on Usher's career today, the focus is shifting not just to how he rose to fame, but to what that success might have cost him. Questions are also emerging about how many were aware of what was happening and chose not to intervene. Now, Jaguar Wright has come forward with more alarming allegations, this time not only directed at Diddy, but at Usher himself. According to her, Usher wasn't merely another young artist swept up in Diddy's world. She claims he may have knowingly played a part in drawing others into the same harmful environment he once experienced. Specifically, Jaguar accuses Usher of being fully aware of Diddy's alleged behavior, especially in relation to Justin Bieber. She alleges that despite understanding the risks and trauma associated with that world, Usher still introduced Bieber to Diddy's circle. If her claims hold weight, it suggests Usher's role wasn't just passive or reactive, but potentially active, moving from a former victim to someone who may have helped perpetuate the same system. These statements have triggered widespread concern, and backlash. The notion that Usher, someone who once spoke vaguely about witnessing strange things and feeling confused as a teen, could later allow another young artist to enter the same space, has many questioning his choices. People are asking, if Usher knew what was really happening, why would he involve Bieber? Was it fear of industry backlash, pressure to comply, or something else? Jaguar's claims add a deeper, more unsettling dimension to the controversy. They suggest this wasn't just about one powerful figure misusing his influence, but possibly part of a larger pattern of silence and participation where even those who were once harmed may have felt compelled to keep the cycle going. As discussions intensify, calls for a full investigation are growing louder, especially from figures like 50 Cent, focusing not only on Diddy's alleged actions, but also on those who may have protected or enabled him, knowingly or not, by helping him reach other young talents. Usher, long viewed as another victim of a toxic industry culture, is now under serious public scrutiny. Whether these allegations will ever see legal consequences is uncertain. But in the eyes of the public, the pressure is mounting. What this situation makes increasingly clear is that the music industry has a long history of turning a blind eye. And now, more than ever, people are calling for accountability, not just for those in power, but for everyone who remains silent or, as Jaguar claims, helps sustain a harmful system. Importantly, Jaguar Wright isn't the only voice raising these concerns. Over time, others have stepped forward to share what they know about Usher's time under Diddy's mentorship, including individuals like Gene Deal, who claim to have witnessed events firsthand.
I don't F with that dude. And at the time, I didn't even know who the F Usher was. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those type of situations. And when probably say, yo, man, I don't F with the getting out that industry and everything like that. You know, Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent him to the hospital? Man, bleeding from the butt. And that's what was said. But I didn't even have a name for the kid at the time. Then you heard
Gene Deal, who once served as Diddy's personal bodyguard, has become one of the most vocal individuals shedding light on what really happened behind the scenes during Diddy's peak years in the music industry. Unlike others who only heard rumors or viewed events from afar, Gene was right there. He spent years providing security for Diddy, walking through the same corridors, guarding the same doors, and witnessing firsthand how young artists like Usher were treated.
I'm not afraid to say what I saw or what I didn't see. A lot of people want to make up shit. I don't make up things. When I say Puff go in the room with two girls, you understand, and another guy and a rapper, and then all of a sudden they cousin try to go in the room, I throw them up against the piano, they run out the room with grabbing towels and they naked. They still had two girls in the room. But people want to make up a lot of bull and say what they want to say and flip it the way they want to flip it. I tell it like it is. But you got these guys, you got these people out here, man, you know what I'm saying? You know, all entertainment, man. Some people want the truth, some people speak the truth. Some people don't even know the fucking truth, it'll smack them dead in the face, brother. But I tell you one thing, it's from my mouth to God's ear. And all these clowns can say whatever they want to say. Like I'm just saying, he lived a rock and roll lifestyle when I was with him, bro. I don't know about his addiction and stuff like that. He was a totally different person, bro. When I try to tell people that, they don't understand that. He was probably doing some of the doing some things.
Gene has shared in various interviews what he directly observed Usher experiencing while living under Diddy's roof as a teenager. He's been very clear that he saw things no young person should ever be exposed to. According to Gene, there were instances where he was present but powerless to intervene in what was happening around Usher. He's also spoken publicly about the emotional burden he still carries from witnessing those moments and being unable to protect a child from them.
When Usher got on Shay Shay, and I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business. Right? I know, and people know, that was around that in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bruh, you know I know. Let me reframe you on something. Remember, Usher? We was at the Swiss Hotel. Puff had Kim in the room. Had one of Keith Sweat's baby mothers in the big room outside the master bedroom. He came outside in his robe. She gave him a fellatio right there. His back was turned to me. She gave him a fellatio. You knocked on the door. I came and opened the door for you. Puff went in the room. You came in the room and kissed that girl dead in her mouth. Now I'm telling that because you taking up for somebody that you know and a lot of more people know didn't do.
Gene revealed that Usher wasn't just accidentally caught up in the wrong environment. He was intentionally placed in those situations. As Diddy's bodyguard at the time, Gene claims he was instructed to stand down to maintain security without questioning what was happening. It wasn't his role to interfere. But now, years later, Gene refuses to remain silent. His willingness to speak out has encouraged others from that inner circle to come forward with their own accounts. While some, like Usher, have chosen to be careful and vague in public, others are no longer interested in protecting reputations. What makes Gene's voice particularly compelling is that he didn't hear rumors, he saw what went on. He was one of the few adults in the room, and he now openly acknowledges that Usher was exposed to circumstances no teenager should have ever faced. While Gene may not have had the authority to intervene back then, he's using his platform today to ensure the truth comes to light. As more testimonies emerge, it's becoming harder to dismiss these claims as mere gossip or online chatter when individuals like Gene Deal, who had direct access to Diddy and worked closely with him, begin to share what they witnessed, a clearer and more troubling picture emerges. For Usher, that picture is far more complex than most people ever knew. What once appeared to be a simple mentorship now seems to involve something far more serious, something that raises difficult questions. In one of his most emotional interviews, Gene laid out disturbing allegations that have unsettled many, particularly those who followed Usher's early career. He stated that the relationship between Diddy and Usher wasn't just inappropriate, it was damaging, and it left deep emotional wounds. Gene even alleged that Diddy confessed to him about having an improper relationship with Usher. It's a difficult claim to even comprehend. But then came a lawsuit. Although the legal documents don't name Usher directly, they describe someone who performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, an identity that, to many, is unmistakable. The implications are becoming harder to ignore. Gene says he didn't just hear about what happened, he witnessed it. He was physically present during many of the incidents Usher experienced as a teen, and the pain in Gene's voice when he talks about it is unmistakable. What truly unsettled Gene was seeing Usher, years later, speak positively about Diddy, crediting him in an interview with teaching him everything he knew about the music industry. That moment stunned Gene because he remembers the reality, the chaos, the wild parties, and the events no young person should be subjected to. Gene also recalls Usher being hospitalized as a result of something that happened while he was staying at Diddy's residence. Yes, hospitalized. Though Gene didn't share the exact details of that incident, the implication was clear. Gene said the situation was severe enough that Usher ended up being treated at a medical facility in Scarsdale, New York. He emphasized that only Usher or possibly his mother should fully explain the details when they feel ready. Still, according to Gene, the emotional and psychological impact was very real. He also recalled a troubling incident he says occurred at the Swistle, involving Diddy, Usher, and others. Without going into explicit detail, Gene described a moment when Usher walked into a scene that no teenager should have been exposed to. Gene remembers opening the door for Usher, who then stepped into a space where clearly adult behavior was taking place, and instead of being shielded from it, Usher was swept into it. Not because he understood what was going on, but because the environment normalized, even encouraged, that kind of conduct. For Gene, this wasn't guidance, it was grooming. And it deeply upset him to later see Usher speak so positively about Diddy, knowing what had really happened behind the scenes. How can you give a man who groomed you a pass? Gene asked, his voice filled with emotion. You praise him, but you won't send your own son to Diddy's camp. That line carried weight because Usher has publicly stated on national television that he would never allow his own child to attend the same camp he once did. When asked during a daytime talk show whether he'd ever send his son to Diddy's so-called flavor camp, Usher answered without hesitation, absolutely not. But as Gene pointed out, Usher never explained why. And it's that combination of silence and public praise that many people now find unsettling.
Put it together.
And what you mean by Diddy count?
Remember, he was on one of the talk shows, the white guy with the curly hair. What's his name? The white guy with the curly hair. And he said, yo, would you send your son to Diddy camp? And Usher said, no. Ask him why he won't send him to Diddy camp. But yet and still you praise him.
Damn, man, and you said that, I know you can't go into detail, but you said that it was a situation where Diddy sent him to the hospital?
Let Usher explain that to you. Let Usher mama explain that to you. And the hospital was in Scarsdale, New York.
Gene's account carries weight not because it's sensational, but because it comes from someone who witnessed the inner workings firsthand. He wasn't observing from a distance, he was right there in the house, the hotel, and the environment, where a young Usher was told that this was simply how the industry functioned. Now that Diddy is under multiple lawsuits, facing criminal charges and public criticism, Gene believes the truth is beginning to surface. He's calling on the public to not just focus on the headlines, but to consider what's been overlooked for years. The narratives involving Usher aren't new. The hurt isn't new either. What's different now is that people are finally starting to talk. Gene Deal's message is straightforward. Usher didn't just navigate a tough industry, he was harmed by it. And if those with influence continue to protect each other, remain silent, or revise history, more young talents are at risk of suffering the same fate. Multiple sources, including individuals from Diddy's former inner circle, suggest a troubling pattern, one that mirrors Cassie Ventura's allegations. She described being manipulated, taken advantage of, and coerced into situations she never consented to. Now, some close observers suspect Usher may have faced similar treatment, though he has never spoken on it publicly. The most disturbing of these claims suggest that, as a teenager, Usher may have been passed among influential men in the industry. It's been alleged that Diddy, under the pretense of mentorship, exploited Usher's talents and presence to gain access, placing him in environments where inappropriate behavior was normalized and at times expected. Sources close to the matter say that the same methods used to control Cassie, manipulation, isolation, and false promises, were also used during Usher's early years. But unlike Cassie, Usher has never come forward. Many believe that's due to deep-rooted trauma and shame. Usher has alluded to troubling memories from his time at Diddy's residence, often stopping short of sharing full details. In interviews, he's mentioned witnessing things that no child should experience. But beyond those remarks, he's remained silent. Those who support the allegations point to that silence as evidence of pain. They argue that Usher, like many other young performers, may have been conditioned to remain quiet to safeguard his image, protect his career, and perhaps shield those who harmed him. The fear of disbelief, backlash, or judgment is a powerful deterrent, especially in an industry where speaking out can lead to total loss. What complicates the narrative further is Usher's immense success. From the outside, Diddy's mentorship appeared effective, but behind the scenes, some suggest that success came with significant emotional consequences, burdens Usher may have carried for decades. The expectation to stay silent, to maintain a public smile, and to express gratitude toward individuals who may have caused harm is a heavy burden, especially for someone who entered the industry so young. Now, as Diddy confronts legal challenges and growing criticism, there's a chance that long-buried truths may begin to emerge. Whether or not Usher chooses to share his story is entirely up to him. But to many watching, the silence alone is telling. Another reason some believe Usher has not spoken about his past with Diddy is fear, possibly not just personal fear, but fear imposed from the outside. While shame and embarrassment may play a part, others now believe his silence may have been enforced rather than voluntary. Over time, various individuals close to the music world have made disturbing claims about Diddy's behavior behind closed doors. One recurring claim stands out that he documented everything. Former insiders allege that Diddy frequently had cameras present during private gatherings and confidential situations. Several lawsuits and testimonies accuse him of secretly filming encounters, some consensual, others allegedly not, with the intent of holding onto the footage as leverage. These weren't just personal archives. According to reports, it was a form of control. And if these accounts are accurate, Usher may have been one of those captured on tape. Some say Diddy's mentorship came with conditions. One of those conditions may have involved keeping compromising material to ensure compliance, and silence, essentially blackmail. If Usher ever considered speaking out, he might have had to weigh the emotional and professional risks against the threat of personal footage being released or his entire career collapsing. In the entertainment industry, being blackballed isn't just about losing roles, it means being shut out from the very system that enabled your success. No music contracts, no brand deals, no support when you're dealing with someone as influential and well-connected as Diddy once was. The threat isn't merely professional, it could be deeply personal. Some allege that Diddy didn't just rely on industry pressure to maintain silence, but also used intimidation, either directly or subtly implied. Voices like Gene Deal, Jaguar Wright, and others have long maintained that Diddy had a well-known reputation for using fear as a tool to protect himself and keep others quiet. In Usher's case, many fans and insiders still question whether that fear persists even today. Over the years, Usher has had numerous chances to share his truth. He's spoken about Diddy in various interviews, has been asked about his experience at Diddy's camp, and even acknowledged that he wouldn't allow his own son in that same environment. Yet, he has never fully opened up. Some believe that's because he's well aware of what the consequences could be. If Diddy did record him or even implied such a threat, Usher may have felt trapped, speak out and risk public embarrassment, career damage, or worse, or remain silent, carry the emotional burden, and keep moving forward. Though he worked hard to keep certain things buried, secrets like these rarely stay hidden forever. Usher's name has now appeared in court testimony linked to one of the most disturbing accusations against Sean Diddy Combs to date. And this time, it's not only about what might have happened behind the scenes, but also about what reportedly happened right in public view. According to People magazine, former Danity Kane singer Dawn Richard took the witness stand and gave compelling testimony, claiming she saw Diddy physically assault Cassie Ventura during a public dinner in 2010. What makes her statement especially alarming is that several well-known figures were reportedly present at the time, including Usher. The incident allegedly occurred at a restaurant. Richard testified that Diddy and Cassie had been quietly arguing before. Without warning, he struck Cassie in the stomach. She bent over in pain, and Diddy reportedly told her to leave. Richard recalled this moment vividly, and perhaps the most unsettling detail, no one stepped in to help. Usher, Jimmy Iovine, and other unnamed celebrities were said to be present, and yet, according to Richard, none of them intervened, but the violence didn't end there. Richard also described a second incident that followed shortly afterward. This time inside a vehicle, she claimed Diddy grabbed Cassie by the neck, slapped her, and told her to be quiet. Richard says she heard him say, "I own you." She testified that she encouraged Cassie to leave the relationship, but Cassie appeared deeply conflicted and visibly afraid. "I could see the fear," Richard said on the stand. These accounts add another troubling layer to the atmosphere that surrounded Diddy during his peak years, and they raise difficult questions about those in his circle, including Usher. If Richard's statements are accurate, it suggests that Usher witnessed violence firsthand and, like others there, did not step in. Of course, it's uncertain whether Usher fully grasped the seriousness of what was happening at the time. But now, amid a wave of legal actions from civil cases to potential criminal charges, his presence at that dinner is being revisited. As more witnesses come forward, Usher's ties to Diddy keep resurfacing not just through rumors, but through sworn court testimony. Whether he will eventually share his perspective on what he saw or went through remains uncertain. But at this point, his name is closely linked to a story that continues to unravel, becoming more troubling with each passing week. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments below. And if you found this video informative, be sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next update. I post weekly deep dives into the untold stories behind your favorite celebrities.